Okay, guys, here's an odd one that probably goes in that other category. It states ancient giant skeleton discovered in Krabi Cave confirms the legend of the Nagas, or perhaps not. It's from Ancient Pages, and I believe in a lot of their stuff. They have pretty decent articles here, but every once in a while they will put out something that's like, what do you think? Was it aliens? So you have to take it with a grain of salt. But check this out. Scientists have discovered an ancient giant skeleton and huge snake bones. It's an extraordinary discovery, and if genuine, it offers evidence giants roamed the earth in the past, and it also confirms the ancient legend of the Nagas. And so you can see this here, and my first thought, of course, is just photoshopped BS like that couple of years ago that came out, and there was a bunch of photoshopped. It was a contest, right? And this is supposed to be done by the Kestart University Faculty of Liberal Arts and Science, which doesn't sound like they should be doing this. So there's that. But what you see here is this body, and then there's this snake that's coiled around it and coiled around it and coiled around it. Its head is over here almost in its hand. And you can see how huge the head is. I try to say the thing is like 16 to 18 foot tall, somewhere in that range, but my guesstimation after a good look at it here in a minute with some other pictures puts it at over 20, and the snake is close to 40. But let's look into this here. While excavating in the Kano Camp Nam cave in Thailand, an archaeological team unearthed a skeleton of a being who was most likely a male and measured 5 or possibly 6 meters, so 16 to 19 foot tall. Next to the skeletons were the remains of a giant serpent. KBTV reports that the leader of the excavations team, when interviewed, said Krabi is the first province within Thai boundaries to have discovered traces of humanity. The Krabi province once discovered the world's first primate fossil, the Simoepithecus eoceanus, is 35 million years old, although it is not considered to be an ancestor or a direct lineage in modern humans. This discovery proves that the Krabi province and the areas around it have had the sightings of the Homo sapiens in the Paleozoic era. Well, why are they talking about that? Proves that the Krabi province and that areas around it have had the sightings of, well, yeah, so they were around there then. So something to look at here strange, and I don't know if this is it or some bone that's in his mouth, but it almost looks like there's a tusk coming out of his mouth, right? Like a boar's tusk type situation. Huge mandible. They won't show the face really on it now because you could detect whether it was taken from a, Caucasian, Mongoloid, or Negroid easily from things like that. Again, this is Faculty of Sciences, and you got to say, well, this is kind of photoshopped. Well, this person's kind of blurry. Well, it kind of is too, and decent shadows on it and everything. It looks like they might have made a mock-up, but it's, man, that's a damn good mock-up. Are they doing it for some movie or something, or how does this come off? Well, there's actually video. Yeah, here in a second we'll get to it. There's actual video. So KBDP interviewed Assistant Professor Niwat Watanayaporn from Kesart University Faculty of Liberal Arts and Science, who explained the significance of the history of Krabi province and thus the curious discovery. And so here's the full length of the body. And looking at the ankles and the way they go down here, you've got to say, well, if these guys are oriental and somewhat small and just a little over 5 foot, then guessing on this would be, well, that's 5, so 11, 12, 14, 15. It's going to break 20 before it tops the head. He's got to be over 20 foot if you took the skull off of it. Those 3 guys lined up, if they laid it down on the ground right now, it would be 1, 2, 3, and they're halfway into his chest. 4, so it'd be 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Yeah, it looks like that more to me. What do y'all think? I know you can't see it too good, but we'll see. You show it here. Look at this tail. It comes all the way from here, around and through, over one leg, under another, which I'll show you in a minute. Goes around and through, under this rock, apparently. Down, over, under, coiling around, under, coiling around, under, around and around and around. Yeah, so are we looking at something that's kind of like, the Omphalos and the things that they see? There's actual Greek statues that show this effigy of something like this, but is it a giant? Is that what they're trying to get at here? And then they talk about Naga serpents, and the Naga serpent is a half human, half snake. And they say that's the idea that was always shown in the biblical tale, was that there was a Naga. It's a wise serpent type idea that's in there, and that's kind of telling. And then you think of it as pretty much something that's in India some, and then Oriental, very Oriental. But you don't think of it to be in Greek and older literature and everything, but it definitely is for Medusa herself, who has to do with Medes. And the Medes were the Aryans, and their son, snake worshippers and things like that, so it all goes together. But yeah, so this coiled out, I kind of give it a thought on it, and got to be 35-foot snake, maybe 40. If that guy's 20, it's 40. If the guy's only about 16 to 19, it's 35 foot. So here's another view at it from like where the legs are, and there's a better shot of this, but this is part of that video. Some of these shots that we just looked at is just screenshots of the video. But you can see the leg here. This is before they excavated out the last part of the tail, and it goes over that leg and under this one and around and under that rock and starts coiling around and around his body here and goes out, and then its head is right over here, right? In fact, that's the edge of its skull right there, I think. So with a complete skull, chest, and leg bones. Well, this is a complete skeleton, totally, So what could you possibly date that at or anything? He says, recently we have good news from Khao Kanab Nam Cave at Krabi province. An archaeological team has discovered traces of a giant human and traces of giant animals in the Khod Kam cave. There were traces of battle corresponding with the legend of Krabi. And so what's this legend of Krabi? Well, in the ancient legend, it tells you that there was this man who got turned into a snake, like a Naga type situation, but then there was another giant that got turned into a man to try to marry somebody or something, and then there became a fight between the two of them, and kind of like the Pillars of Hercules on the river that runs through this area, they say these two little mountains are both of them because they fought to the death and they both died. And this is not too far away from where those spots are, but it's not just right there. And so here's a look at it here. And I looked around at this and I'm thinking that's just got to be Photoshop. And you can see the tail is partially excavated in there, right? And go all the way down to the feet here. This giant, this thing, the giant is not saying anything. But you see how right behind his head, how it has that backing, everything going on it. So I'm thinking it's got to be that, right? And you look, and now that does come around there. Let's look at this other picture. Yeah, it comes around there. Yep, it comes around there. So this is, if they're photoshopping it in the same spot, which would kind of make sense. And I don't see anything twisted, anything changed, even the little buckles in its tail. I looked at things like that, like what looks different, And I did all of that till I got down to the actual video, which is coming down here. It said there was a giant who transformed into a human and another human who was transformed by the Naga. They had both fallen in love with a princess living in this place, and they fought with each other until death. The giant and the Naga turned into mountains flanking the Krabi River. This is the legend that corresponded with the discovery, an amazing discovery to visit and see. This great discovery of the province of Krabi, says Professor Niwat Watanyanaporn. Known as the Serpent People, the Nagas are mentioned in Hindu mythology. These are mysterious creatures said to live in two magnificent underground cities known as Patala and Bhagavati. which literally means people by snakes are delightful. Now we're going to look at this video here, but there's only this much left. So let's see this first. According to KBTV, these remains are near complete, with a complete skull, chest, and leg bones. The area of the sighting had been cordoned by the police and verified by the archaeological team. If it is identified as genuine, this would be the first sighting of a complete giant remains since the 2004 tsunami, which I don't know, there's a giant back then, but I don't know. This, points of this are looking extremely fishy, and something else about it too is the guy's breaking 20 foot. And we're gonna mention something else about that in just a second, so let's just go ahead. And if this identified as genuine, this would be the first sighting of a complete giant since the tsunami. The government has pledged to give full assistance to the archaeological works. There are those who would say ancient giants are fiction, but don't forget the giant of Illinois, Robert Pershing Wadlow, who was the world's tallest man. And Robert Wadlow had an extreme problem with a pituitary gland growth situation, and he's somebody that should have been about 6'1" or 2", and he ended up shooting up giant. His dad was only like 5'8" or 5'9". They show him there. He's 8'11". So you say 8'11". Okay, let's call it 9 foot. 9 and 9 is 18. So he's double the height of that guy. Your heart probably couldn't stand up with it. Now I know somebody personally that is 6'9" and is built as common as any person that's 5'8", 6 foot tall, but he's 6'9". He hasn't had that pituitary gland or anything. He's a giant. He's huge. Big hands, big feet, big body, football player type guy. Would have been a professional football player, but they blew out his knee, and then they fixed it, and then they pushed him real hard to see how well that was fixed. It blew out his knee again, and then just walked off on him. But that's another story. But he's a huge guy. But this is something of another level, and it's got to be fake as hell, right? What do y'all think? While digging deeper into this story, we found together with our researchers evidence that suggests that this discovery was an art installation, according to an article published by Taiwan Today. Though no one questions the evidence of giants in the past, this skeleton looks a bit too new to be genuine. What do you think? But why wouldn't Professor Nawat Nuwan see this as this was a work of art? So they're saying that apparently it's a work of art. Now, we could go to this site that says, we'll do that in a minute. It goes to a Taiwan news thing. So here's a video of it. And hopefully you can read this stuff because the sound is just silent as hell. But I've got CC on for you. So here's this cave, one of the views from inside of it, and look, this is footage of them walking around and doing it here. So it gets to the point of saying that it's got to be CGI, right? That is a tusk, guys. That is a tusk. And so where it is on this river here. And supposedly upriver just a little bit is where the story comes from, the ancient legend, right? So what's that got to do with it? Well, this doesn't look like a giant cave, and now they're mentioning the fact that they found that Pithecan species there and what they found of it, but it's somebody that's not related to Homo sapiens, actually. So on some of the traffic lights they actually have the little primate there on it, but everybody knows that doesn't go along with it, so that's odd. Here it is coming down the city, and there's the two things that are there, and here's one of the guys that supposedly has to do with it. Doesn't look like he's trying to be the doctor guy, but hey, maybe he's just trying to be doubly kicked back, wearing a straw hat. So let's go back and look at that video here real quick and see what y'all think about it. He says 6.5 meters. Now, as he rolled around in there, I could see up in his mouth at one good point there, and that tooth is going up into there, but not on the same range as these teeth are. It's up in there a little bit more. Kind of strange. That's weird. I'm thinking art project. But what are they doing? They're probably just like that other team. They're trying to see how many people they can get talking about it. If they get it, some people to believe it and get the word out, then that's a success. Which is kind of sad, doing false archaeology situations and be trying to play it off like this. But then again, who made the giant skeleton of a human being 22 foot tall that's really correct, like you would make a skeleton that's 6 foot tall for going into a classroom anatomy or something like that, and did it to this? Who did that? And who also did a snake that would have been that big? You know, Burmese pythons, which, yeah, okay, so they can get up in that 30-foot range, close to it. And then we have the anacondas, and everybody talks well, and there's this picture of one that one time should have been 45, 50 foot. Well, that's what we're looking at right here. But we're also looking at a guy that's 20 foot tall. And if you think about him just blowing up the idea, that would have been a 6 foot tall guy and a 15-foot snake. And that doesn't sound too exciting, but then did they blow it? How did they blow it up? Did they have, I don't know, those computer generated things that actually can process plastics and do things? Because the skeleton does look pretty new. There's no yellowing or anything that they tried to do with it or anything like that, right? Just looks a little conspicuous. We'll hit it one more time here. It says 6.5 meters. Let's see, is there something at the end of this too? I think there's something where the guy actually says something here. There it is, the view. So the police apparently cornered it off. It's right down in here. But they're letting people just come and look at it. So she says, yeah, it'd be the first giant remains since the tsunami. I'm not aware of any that came out of that tsunami, though. I know there are some weird sea creatures that are deep sea creatures that came up and got caught on land. But so let's see this Taiwan today. Taiwan artworks take stage at Thailand Binning Lally in Krabi. So here it is. Boom. Looks like they're working on it, the exact same one. Taiwan artist Tai Wu Chang smiles next to a plastic skeleton of a giant in a replica archaeological dig he created for the inaugural Thailand Biennale running through February 28, 2019. Two large-scale installations by Taiwan creators creating the skeletons of a giant and a snake and a long tailboat are among the key attractions at the inaugural Thailand. So what's this long tailboat? Huh. Doesn't show anything about that. So yeah, it's all just fake, and it was supposed to be some type of thing. So, come check out the fake giant skeleton thing, and I guess that'd be kind of cool. Mysteries of Giants, but Set Osiris. looked a whole lot like that, and that must be where he got some of the inspiration of the snake that's coiled around the man that we see so often. Wow. Went through a lot of trouble for it too. But yeah, it just didn't look. It's too connected. Even the knees are still connected in the knee spot and everything. Nothing disjointed whatsoever. That was one of the first things. And I thought, oh, they just inserted it in. But then as I showed more and more shots, and you could see this spot behind it here, when you run around to the other shots, it's the same one. And I went back and forth a couple of times, and I go, okay, that's the same. So they must have made a fake mock-up. But why would they do something like that? That's kind of bullshit. And then you come to find out, oh, okay, they did. They made up an entire mock-up, and it's supposed to look like an archaeological dig. Da, ha 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 ha. Got another picture down here or anything? No. Sucks. So, what do y'all think about that? Ancient pages. Giants. Huh. Well, if you really want to squash and ruin something, do it like that. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. We're on to the next real story. Tell me what y'all thought down in the links. Too bad we're not near April 1st. I would have done that a whole lot better. Peace.